Most people think sadness comes from failure. It doesn't. A lot of emotional pain comes from a place far quieter, which is regret. The job that you didn't take, the relationship that ended, the opportunity that you said no to, the version of your life you wonder about when your mind goes quiet. What if I would have done things differently? Some questions stay in your head, and if you've ever carried any of those questions with you, today's recommendation might matter to you a lot more than you expect. I'm talking about this book called The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. And before I tell you why this book has stayed with me for years after reading and rereading it a couple of times, you need to understand why I picked it up in the first place because that changes everything. Back to 2022 or 23, I was going through one of the most difficult phases of my personal life. Mentally, emotionally, career wise, internally, life just felt heavy. One day I was randomly browsing through book communities online, Facebook groups, reader communities, bibliophile spaces, and one title kept appearing again and again: The Midnight Library. I checked the blurb, read a little about it, and something about it pulled me in. You've probably had moments like these when a book does not just feel discovered, it feels like it's written for you, it's giving you a message. I genuinely believe I found this book when I needed it the most, or maybe this book actually found me. And that matters because understanding when a book enters your life sometimes changes what it can do for you. Which brings me to the story of the book and what this book is actually all about. Don't worry, I'm not going to spoil the book for you, I'll keep it spoiler free through and through. The Midnight Library follows Nora Seed, a woman standing at the edge of her life, and then something unusual happens to her. She discovers a mysterious library between life and death. Inside that library, every book contains a different version of her life, a version shaped by the choices that she could have made differently. Different careers, relationships, different paths, different futures. What follows is not just fiction, it's actually a journey through regret, through identity, finding meaning, and the quiet questions that stay awake long after you fall asleep. Questions like: Did I ruin my life? Did I make the wrong choice? Could things have been better? And that's exactly why this book works. But before I tell you why it has stayed with me, you need to understand one very important thing about this book. The opening chapters deal with some heavy emotional themes. Nora struggles deeply. And if you are currently going through a very dark phase mentally, you may want to approach this book very carefully because the beginning can feel emotionally intense. But if you stay through it, if you push through until Nora enters the library, you might find something genuinely valuable waiting for you on the other side. And that brings me to the point where I need to welcome you to this episode. Hello and welcome to Content Gobbler, a place built for you to discover recommendations of content that alters your thoughts and your life for the better. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel where you're watching this episode or follow the podcast on the application where you're listening to us right now if you want to discover books, films, and other media worth your time and attention, understand why certain ideas stay with you for long after you've consumed them, and learn how the content you consume quietly shapes your beliefs, decisions, and directions to deliver sharper taste in the world of mental junk food that we are surrounded with. Hi, I'm Manish Ahuja, your host, and by profession, I'm a business growth educator and consultant. I help make marketing and sales easy and profitable for business owners and working professionals working in the domain of marketing and sales. A large part of my personality and personal development can easily be credited to the copious amount of meaningful content that I've consumed, and I realized it's high time I find a way to share these gems with which come into my life through books, podcast, episodes, series, movies with you. Content Gobbler exists to help you consume better content and explore ideas that reward depth, reflection, and independent thinking. This episode of Content Gobbler was made possible through Mr. Emojical exclusive, but more about that later in the episode. Let's deep dive into the first reason why I genuinely believe you should focus on reading The Midnight Library. Reason 1: timing changes everything. This book helped me through the most difficult phase of my life, as I mentioned earlier. Not because it magically solved any of the problems that I was going through, it didn't. What it did was quieter, more useful. It helped me process my emotions differently. And if this recommendation helps even one person watching or listening to this episode today, the purpose of this episode will be fulfilled. Because sometimes the right book does not remove pain, it changes your relationship with pain. And I'll talk more about it in the second reason, which is this book does not preach. A lot of books try to teach lessons. This one just delivers perspective. And perspective changes everything, especially when your brain becomes noisy. Regret, overthinking, self blame, second guessing every decision that you're making. Midnight Library does not lecture you at all. It gently walks beside your thoughts. It gives shape to questions that begin with what if, and you know there are many of them. And sometimes that's exactly what healing looks like. Not answers, but just the perspective that you need to process the pain that you're going through and find a way for yourself, create a way for yourself. The way this book delivers perspective, that's where the real genius of this book starts. But the third reason is the magic realism, which is the secret weapon of this book, according to me. You'll find a lot of critics online that criticize what happens once Nora enters the library. For me, that was pure brilliance because the magical elements aren't there in the book to impress you. They are there to reveal the truth. That's just author's way of sharing his story. Every experience that Nora lives through slowly clears the emotional fog. You don't just watch the character change, you watch the understanding unfold, and the emotional clarity becomes impossible to ignore. But great ideas alone can't help you keep turning the pages. Storytelling does, and this book does that very, very, very well. Before I tell you about the next few reasons, let me quickly take a minute and tell you about Mr. Emojical Exclusive. Mr. Emojical Exclusive is a free newsletter for people interested in marketing, sales, business growth, and behind the scenes systems that help businesses grow steadily and sustainably. If you enjoy learning deeper ideas beyond the surface level with regards to how do you start a business, how do you market your product, how do you find better positioning for your business, you definitely must subscribe to Mr. Emojical Exclusive newsletter right now. You can do so by scanning the QR code that you're seeing on your screen right now if you're watching this episode, or you will find the link in the description or the show notes of this episode. Thank you for registering, and I'll see you in your inbox as well. But for now, let's get back to the Midnight Library, Nora, and Matt Haig. The fourth reason why this book will keep you invested is the suspense. One thing I genuinely didn't expect from this book was how it invested me in Nora's journey. Because beneath all the emotional pain, beneath all the philosophy, beneath all the life lessons, there is a very strong story and a narrative. And it's a fairly well paced one. Every new life Nora enters gives you another piece of the puzzle, another perspective, another realization, another possibility. You keep reading because you want answers. You want to know where this goes. You want to know whether Nora will find peace. If she really finds peace. Is finding peace even possible? You want to know whether clarity finally arrives. The suspense here does not come from action, it comes from an emotional discovery, the journey that she's going through. And if you've ever spent time replaying your own life decisions in your head, that emotional discovery becomes deeply personal. But emotional investments alone don't make this book memorable. The topics that book chooses to explore, that's where the memorable book separates themselves. And this book goes into the places where most fiction books avoid. Which also brings me to point number 5, which is the topics that this book actually explores. Some books stay inside one lane. This absolutely does not. If you see many people saying that they did not like this book because it was all over the place, it's actually on purpose. This book touches multiple areas of your life that quietly shape who you become: love, relationships, purpose, mental health, identity, meaning, regret, self worth. I know it may sound overwhelming, and this book gives perspective on all of this, and it does something important. It explores difficult ideas without ever becoming preachy, without sounding like it's trying to teach you a lesson. The book trusts your intelligence. It gives you experiences and then it lets you arrive at conclusions yourself. And honestly, That's one of the most favorite ways for me to consume ideas, because sometimes people don't need instructions, people just need the right direction, the perspective, and that changes everything. That changes your decisions, that changes the directions that you take, and that changes how you just live your life. Which brings me to what might be the biggest lesson I believe this book has given me, which matters, because beyond entertainment, beyond storytelling, this book genuinely changes the way you think, which is the sixth point. This book will definitely change the way you deal with regret if you read it with the right perspective, with the right thought process, and with the right mindset. I want to be careful when I explore this point. No book changes your life automatically. Reading something isn't enough. But being open to learning from it, that is where things change. The Midnight Library helped me think about things differently, about regret, not because it had erased regret, not because it offered any shortcuts, not because it changed the lens. Regret often convinces you that life would have been better if you would have made a different choice, a different career, a different relationship, or maybe even continued the same relationship or career that you were a part of, a different opportunity, a different decision. But reality is rarely that simple. This book helped me understand something very, very, very important. Every decision carries trade offs. Every life contains challenges. Every path asks you for something. And sometimes peace comes from not finding the perfect life, but from learning how to appreciate the one that you are building. That idea alone makes this book worth reading for me. But I have so much more to tell you. The seventh reason is the book became much bigger than the book in itself. What do I mean by that? When stories resonate deeply, they usually don't get confined to pages. The Midnight Library connected with people globally, and for a very good reason. Because underneath the magical premise of the book, the story speaks about something deeply human: the fear of getting life wrong, the fear of wasted potential, the fear of becoming someone you did not intend to become. These fears are absolutely universal, and that's exactly why the story likes to travel, and it just reaches and touches lives of people across the world, around countries, around age groups, around different stratas of society. But popularity alone does not make something meaningful, right? The ending does. And this book delivers where it matters the most. Before I tell you the top three reasons why you should definitely consider reading this book, I'll be absolutely honest. No book is perfect. Before I tell you the top three reasons you must definitely consider, here are the three reasons why, or how I think this book could have been different or maybe a little better according to me. The first thing is the start is extremely heavy. This might be the biggest reason why many people pick up the book, start reading it, but never finish this book. The opening chapters are difficult, emotionally heavy, dark, uncomfortable. And for some readers, that becomes the stopping point. I completely understand why. But personally, I'm very glad I kept going, because once Nora enters the library, the experience changes dramatically, and suddenly everything starts opening up. The second reason, or the second thing that could have been a little different, is Nora feels distant. And by that I mean, this is a very personal criticism. You may completely disagree to this. I would love to know your thoughts in the comments. But while Nora's experiences is a lot of the story, it's the entire story, there were moments where I wished I felt even more emotionally connected to her character. Almost strangely, the idea sometimes felt more memorable than Nora herself. What does she go through? The experiences that she has, it that felt more attachment inducing than the character of Nora, if you're understanding what I'm trying to say, which is very unusual for somebody like me, because she's the protagonist. Again, that did not ruin the experience for me, not even close. Otherwise, I would not have recommended this book. But it's something worth knowing before going in. If you are somebody who feels strong attachment to the protagonist, that may not happen in this book, but I'm going to be recommending one of the books later in the episode, and that is where this happens very beautifully. The third thing that could have been a little different in this book is I wanted more from the final stretch of the book. Without giving you any spoilers, let me explain this to you. There's a point near the end of the book where things start moving very quickly. Personally, I would have loved more time in that particular aspect of the life which Nora was living. More exploration, more depth, more breathing room. But I also understand the practicalities of storytelling and publishing world. Authors make difficult decisions. Pacing matters, momentum matters, and sometimes that restraint is also a part of good writing. Which other, if this book would have been 50 pages more thicker, it probably would have lost about 20% of its audience, and that's the world that we are living in. A lot of people connected deeply with the story, and not just the readers, the entertainment industry too. So it has to fit into a particular template, but I'm just sharing according to me, this was what could have been different. And now let's go to the top three reasons why this book takes the cake according to me. And let's look at the reason number 8, 9, and 10. Reason number 8, the climax absolutely delivers. I'll keep it spoiler free, but the emotional payoff works. It just beautifully works. Because by the time you reach the climax, you haven't just watched Nora's journey, you've quietly reflected on your own, your choices, your regrets, your relationships, your definitions of success, even. And when a story makes you reflect without forcing any sort of reflection, that's powerful storytelling. The ending felt absolutely earned. It felt so satisfying, and most importantly, it felt absolutely honest, emotionally honest, even. But great endings do something else too. They make you revisit them. And that's exactly what has happened to me with The Midnight Library. The reason 9 that I want you to read this book is the massive reread value. There are books that you finish once and you move on. And then there are books that quietly stay nearby. This has become that sort of a book for me. I have revisited parts of this book multiple times, especially the final stretch, the last 50, 60 pages. I just keep rereading them often, and every time I seem to take away something slightly different, which usually tells me something important. The book has changed, not because the words changed, because I have changed. And great books do that, exactly that, right? You grow, you revisit them, and suddenly you discover something entirely new, which leads us to the final reason, and honestly, the most important one. The 10th reason is it can change your relationship with yourself. A lot of people spend years trying to improve life externally, better work, better money, better opportunities, circumstances, and those things definitely matter for sure. But your relationship with yourself matters too. How do you speak to yourself? How much grace do you give yourself? How are you processing the mistakes that you've made? How are you carrying disappointment? How are you dealing with regret? This book gently pushes you towards those conversations, and it does so not aggressively or forcefully. It does it very thoughtfully, with a lot of compassion, quietly, and sometimes those are the ideas that stay with you the longest. Based on whatever I have told you about this book, if you choose to order your own copy of the book, I would be grateful if you would choose to buy your copy using the link that you see in the show notes of this episode, or you can just scan the QR code that you see on your screen right now to buy the book. These are affiliate links, which means you will get the book at no extra cost from Amazon, but I will receive a small kickback for referring you to the link. These kickbacks generally are pennies or dimes on every order, but they add up over months. I just wanted to be absolutely transparent with you, and that's what it is. If you've ever carried regret, if you've ever replayed your old decisions in your mind, if you've ever wondered whether another version of your life would have made you happier, I think this book deserves your attention. And if you've already read Midnight Library, tell me what are your thoughts. Tell me what stayed with you. Tell me what has changed for you. Or just recommend one fiction book that has changed your relationship with yourself. I would genuinely want to discover more great stories through you. Content Gobbler is incomplete without thoughtful recommendations from you. If a book, podcast episode, or any form of media has genuinely changed how you see the world, please feel free to tell me about it. If you ended up liking this particular book, or if you like books in this category, the three other books that I would like to recommend to you are sorry, The Happiest Man on Earth by Edward Eddie Jaku. A beautiful book. It's about a survivor of Holocaust. And Tuesdays with Maury by Mitch Albom. This is one book again that I have read and reread multiple times. And a special book, a very beautiful story, Sarah's Key by Tatiana de Rosnam. Extremely sorry, the name of the author is not the easiest thing for me to pronounce, but yeah, this is the book. And I was telling you about you feel an instant and a very strong connect with the protagonist of the book. This is the book I was telling you about. A beautiful story. You definitely must read all these books. And if you want me to create videos about any of these books, do let me know in the comments below. Yeah. A quick reminder towards the end of the episode, if you enjoyed thoughtful ideas, if you would like to get more thoughtful ideas about around business growth, marketing systems, building better thinking, check out Mr. Emojical Exclusive. It's a free newsletter, free community, behind the scenes insights, and tools to help you grow steadily and intentionally. If you've reached till this part of the episode, thank you so much. I'm sure you would like to get more updates about the future episodes of Content Gobbler. You can sign up on WhatsApp community or Telegram channel to get updates of the future episodes. You could also get WhatsApp. You could also sign up on the WhatsApp community and Telegram channel for Mr. Emojical, which is my own personal brand. If you want to get to know about content with regards to business, you'll find links of everything that I've mentioned in the show notes or the description below. Do share this episode with someone you care about and who you feel would find value from this episode. Drop in your feedback, that will help me improve the quality of the future episodes, and do let me know your suggestions. Let me know what are you reading these days or what are you watching right now and what do you like about it. Follow me across social media to find what I'm reading currently and to see the new and I'll love to see you in the next episode. Thank you for staying back with me till the end of the episode. I really appreciate your commitment towards discovering content worth gobbling. If you've reached till this point of the episode and if you still can't think of a comment, just drop the word midnight in the chat box and I'll know that you stayed with me till the end of the episode. If you've been listening to this episode and if you want to drop a comment, you'll find the link to the YouTube video of this episode where you can click and drop your comments and your thoughts. Thank you for staying back till the end. I'll see you in the next episode. Until then, take good care. Keep gobbling meaningful content. Take care. Keep going, keep growing. Thank you.